Hey, what's up? And thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built six, seven, and eight-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name, of course, is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes and the education so that they can take on more projects and scale profitably. And on this episode, I'm really excited because I'm bringing on one of my clients. His name's Case Phillips. He is one of the partners at RBA. They recently had a branding change, so you might know them as Rocket Brand. They're based out of Dallas. He's become a good friend of mine, and I've learned a ton from him. And today, specifically, we're going to be talking about company culture and how that has helped him to scale his agency. And specifically, we're going to be talking a lot about this culture committee that they created. It's really, really interesting. And it's very, very important, especially now, as well, I should say, over the past year, as everybody's been stuck at home and the teams have been remote. And so he's going to share about how they've used the culture committee even prior to the pandemic, but also what the things that they've done to help solidify the team and ensure that things are moving in the right direction. So I hope you enjoy this episode and let us know if you have any questions. Case is super nice. He put in his contact info at the end of the interview. So you can always reach out to him as well. But I hope you're having a great day and I hope you enjoy this episode. What's up, Case?
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you again.
You too. It's been a while, but happy to be back on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And congrats again on winning the Ad Age. Is it best company to work for?
They call it best places to work for.
Best places to work.
But yeah, so this year we got number 3 in Ad Age's best places to work for companies under 250 people.
And that's up from number 6, you said.
Yeah, so we were number 6 last year. It's our second year on it, so we're tracking in the right direction. And what was cool about this year, obviously moving up, and all the stuff that comes with that, but also the top 5. They name I think 20 or 25, and then the top 5 get a little blurb in Ad Age. So I think it was the first time our company RBA has been written up in Ad Age magazine. So that was a pretty cool thing to see.
That's
and
sweet, man.
get
Well,
interviewed by
congrats.
them. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get more info about that. But really quickly, because we always do our roundtable discussion. So you had the last time we talked about your career as a voiceover artist, which I thought was really, really interesting. But there's another cool thing that people don't know about you is that you are really, really into live music. And apparently, I can't remember the name of the band that you mentioned, but you've been to like over 100 of their concerts. And we've actually had other guests come on and talk about their love of music. And I am not a music person, so I like learning about this as well. My fiance like loves the Killers. I think like she would divorce me to go see a Killer concert and be in the front row.
Especially during pandemic times when we've been deprived of our live music.
Yeah. So anyways, like tell us about, well, first of all, who's the band and tell us about where this passion for live music came from.
Yeah, so so the band that I've seen the most is a band called Widespread Panic, originally from Athens, Georgia. But I mean, really, it's Panic, and then I'm a huge Deadhead, so the Grateful Dead.
Nice.
I know this is gonna be on video, so I'll bring in my little my Jerry Garcia doll that sits on my desk here.
That's awesome.
And then there's another kind of genre of music that's called red dirt music, Texas country music. That's kind of a country music that's kind of native to Texas and Oklahoma and some surrounding areas. So that's kind of like my 3 main areas, I guess, of focus in the music space, and some bluegrass in there as well. But yeah, I don't know. I guess, when I was a kid, I always was really into music. I mean, I can remember just like laying in my parents' bed, like watching MTV and being just fascinated by music videos.
Back when they had music videos.
Right. Back when that was like a thing, right? MTV wasn't a reality show channel. And so I can remember that. And then with Texas country, I can remember my neighbor, who is one of my best friends, and he and I have a very similar taste in music. I was over at his house playing video games, and he was playing this album by this guy named Pat Green. and it was
Okay.
called Songs About Texas. And at that point, we were like into like hip hop and gangster rap, and
Yeah.
he's like playing country music, and I was like, country music, and I listened to it, and I was like, this is good,
Yeah. Yeah.
really good. And so I started to get really into it then, and throughout kind of middle school and high school, I really dove really deep into that Texas country scene. And, most of my high school weekends were spent, trying to find, the concert venues or little bars that I could get into that were, allowed people under the age of 18. And so, seeing guys like Corey Morrow and Robert Earl Keen and Owen Temple. I saw Miranda Lambert play at a little place called Gypsy Tea Room back when
Oh,
she was
crazy.
nothing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my first dive into live music, and I loved it. And so my senior year of high school, I was up at my friend's family's place in Martha's Vineyard, and they have a friend up there, and he was really big into fish.
Okay.
And so everybody, a lot of people know Fish, big hippie jam band kind of thing. And
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean,
so
I,
th-
I remember I discovered fish through my friends that were on my floor my freshman year of college.
yeah,
Like I was like, what the heck is this? Because I was all into gangster rap.
yeah,
So yeah.
some noodling music, and they play vacuum cleaners and do all kinds of weird stuff. But so we would drive around in his car that summer, and he'd play Fish, and I kind of got into that music. And so I started kind of exploring that kind of more jam band, improvisational rock scene. And I found a band called Widespread Panic that I knew a little bit about, and I maybe heard one or two of their songs. And I'd actually had seen them in concert before because somebody had just dragged me to a concert, and it was a fun thing to do. And I kind of fell in love, and I went. I saw them a few times, probably 3 or 4 times in the early 2000s. And then when it really hit me was I was invited by a friend of mine to go to Atlanta to see their big New Year's Eve run.
Hmm.
So they played 3 nights on New Year's Eve, or the 30th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. And they did it at the Phillips Arena, and that was in 2005. And that was like, I just remember it hit me. It was like, man, like there's no place on earth I would rather be than to be seeing this band, and just absolutely fell in love. And what's really unique about them and bands like Fish and the Grateful Dead is that they never play the same show twice. So I might go see a Pat Green show, for instance, and expect to hear 7 or 8 of his hits, and maybe he'll change up a few things. But with a Panic show, every single song is different, and they play it a little bit differently every time too. So if you go to see them 3 nights in a row, you're going to get probably 75 different songs. So
That's
uh,
insane. So I pulled up their website really quickly. I'm going to share it for the people that are on YouTube. This is not what I was expecting. These dudes are old. So like, what kind of music is it?
Yeah, so they've been around. So they formed in 1986, which is the year I was born.
Okay.
So they're old now, but they were in college at University of Georgia back then,
Uh huh.
and they were once young. But yeah, they are gritty, blues-driven rock and roll. I would say, if kind of like the Allman Brothers, if you like the Grateful Dead, if you
Uh huh.
like Little Feat, if you like, the band, I think those are all like pretty big influences on who Widespread Panic is. So it's kind of gritty, bluesy, Southern rock, is how I would describe it. And,
Nice. I'm going to
some of
listen to
their
them.
songs are, 4 or 5 minutes long. Some of their songs, live especially, can go into the, 10, 12, 15-minute range of them kind of jamming and, improvising, and, you know, making cool sounds with their instruments.
That's
So,
awesome, man. I'm
yeah,
definitely going to check them out. Last question about this.
yeah.
How does your wife feel about you traveling all over the country following these old guys?
I knew that question was coming. No, I mean, she's not that into it, to be honest. And since we've gotten married, I would say having kids just naturally my travel slowed down. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I would say probably from the year 2005 through 2015, that 10-year stretch, I was probably seeing them 10 to 12 times a year, all over the country: Colorado, New York, California, Arizona, Texas, obviously, Louisiana, Atlanta or Georgia. Kind of. I think I've seen them in 20 or 22 different states, something like that. So,
Jesus.
um, but since then, it's kind of slowed down. And then obviously, right now with the pandemic, we've been at a dearth of live music. And I'm hoping, so they play Red Rocks every year, the last weekend in June.
Okay.
And my buddy Henry, he's a big Panic fan as well. Uh, he's getting married in September, and he's hoping to have his bachelor party at Red Rocks for Panic. So hopefully in June, if we get some vaccines out there, they'll be playing, and I can go see
Well, they're
them.
actually on their website. They have that they're scheduled to play at Austin City Limits in end of May. So who knows if that's going to happen, but
right.
it's possible.
They had a show and it was planned for Chicago in either March or April that's now pushed back to November. So we'll see. I think with everything else in the pandemic, nobody really knows what's going to happen. And you know, these guys are, they've made a lot of money, and they're okay. It's the smaller touring acts that I really feel for, and the music venues, the small music venues across the country that have just been hit so hard. That's just terrible
Well,
for them.
the good news is that when we come out of this, there's just going to be an explosion of people doing stuff, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm right on
like Mardi Gras every day.
I'm so on board with that. I think there's so much pent up demand for people doing stuff and having fun experiences. I think it's going to be like, once this thing is over, I think it's going to be crazy. I think people are just going to be wanting to do things all the time.
Yeah. And actually, on a bigger sense, I think it'll kind of unify the country too. I think that people will realize, hey, like, we all just want to have a good time. Like, let's put politics aside.
Man, I hope so.
Anyways, let's talk more. Okay, so when we started the show, we talked about how you guys had just won the second. This was your second time winning the top places to work. Did I say that correctly again?
Best places to work.
Best places to work. This time you moved up to number 3. So, like, you had mentioned to me also that you have is it called your culture club?
Culture committee.
Culture committee, which I found was really, really interesting. So why don't we start off and you tell us about the culture committee and how you got the idea to create that?
Yeah, so I wish I could claim the idea. I did bring it to the company, but a woman named Tracy Altman, who was one of the founders of Holy Guacamole, I've been lucky to know her for several years, and she's sort of a mentor to me. Extremely intelligent and bright woman, and just really, really sharp in the marketing field. And anyway, I was talking to her at lunch one day about our company culture, and I felt like it was something that was a really strong asset of ours. And she said, it's one thing to have culture come from the top down, but what about from the bottom up? And
100%. Yep.
And that really rang a bell with me. And she said, have you ever thought about starting a culture committee, of kind of rank and file employees? And I said, no, but I think that's a hell of an idea. So so we established the culture committee. It currently consists of 3 people. We don't have a specific time allotment that people are on the culture committee. But I think, we've probably had it going for about 3 years now. And the 3 people who are currently on it were not on it to start with. So we do try to keep it, somewhat fresh. But it's definitely an honor, I think, to be named to that. It's, the people that we feel, most embody, the culture of the company, and can really, take it seriously to help further that, and do everything from, celebrating somebody's birthday in a special way to scheduling, fun events. Or we just did a virtual celebration for winning the Ad Age Award, and they put together these boxes that had champagne and stickers and all this kind of stuff. And so it's a lot of the things that we need to be doing, we should be doing. But as a leadership, I think we're too often focused on more of the high level stuff. And so it's really great to have their input on things. They definitely, as our leadership team meets with the culture committee about once every month, where they'll present ideas to us and talk to us about things. I think they have a really good pulse on kind of the company morale and things that are going on there that maybe people don't talk to the leadership team about. So it's really been awesome. It's been I think a huge game changer in what we do. I think um, it makes people who work at RBA feel like they have a voice and a say in how the company is run and what we're doing, because they do. Absolutely. And
absolutely.
so the culture committee kind of serves as that liaison from kind of rank and file employees to leadership, and it's been wonderful.
Great. I want to get more into the details of what the culture committee does, but really quickly, what stage were you at in your agency when you decided to implement this? Like, how many years had you guys been around? How many people did you guys have? Was there like a revenue number that you guys were doing?
Yeah, so I would say I think the culture committee's been around for about 3 years, so it's probably about 2 years into our company. And
Hmm.
to say that we are a different company today than we were then would be a drastic understatement. As you know, starting a company, it's like you look back and you're like, we were doing what? It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
um, and so, I don't know. We probably had 8 or 10 people
Okay,
working,
that was a
at
good sized
RVA at the
team.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it was a team for sure. Um, and revenue wise, we were probably low seven figures would be my guess.
right.
Very low seven figures. Um, at that point, and yeah, I mean, it just I don't know. Was there? I can't remember the other
No, I
question
mean,
that you
you
asked, but
answered the three questions. How many
yeah,
people did the time, and what was the revenue number? So
yeah,
that gives me and hopefully our listeners a better sense of where you were at in the agency. Not to say that you couldn't start this if you were smaller, and definitely not to say that you can start this if you're bigger. But that's a good kind of like benchmark when I think that you could probably um, get the most out of it like around that size. You know.
yeah. I think that's probably about the smallest that you'd want to start it because I think 3 people is a good number, at least at the size we are now. If you're a 100-person organization, maybe it's a 5 or 7 or 10-person committee or something like that. But
Okay.
I think 3 people is a good number. And then, if you've got 3 people in leadership and 3 people on the team, then, and 10 people at the company. So there's 4 people who aren't on the culture committee. So I think you want to not make it to where you're either one or the other. So I
Yeah.
think, probably 8 to 10 people is a good number to have.
Right. And I personally didn't really start learning and focusing on company culture until we were in the 20s in terms of staff. What happened with me is that because we hadn't identified our specific and unique company culture, that we were hiring more so on technical ability as opposed to cultural fit. And then we would have people that didn't work out. And then, some just ancillary negatives that come with having the wrong folks, like clickiness with some of the, team members and people that just weren't on board with some of the changes that we would want to make. So, yeah, I think I actually got into, we don't have our own culture committee. I love that idea. And I'm going to talk to my head of HR to see if she wants to do it.
I've taken many of y'all's ideas, Chris. So
Oh,
feel free
perfect.
to
Okay.
feel free to
So,
take that one.
absolutely. But yeah, I think that, had we gotten or had I seen the importance of company culture a lot earlier, we could have avoided a lot of like missteps along the way. So let's talk specifically about what your culture committee does on a monthly basis, because I think you said that you talk about once a month.
Yeah, so they meet actually on a weekly basis. So they meet for an hour. I don't know. I think every Friday or Monday after. I can't remember when their schedule is, but they meet for an hour every week. And so, it's like I said, relatively small things like, hey, such and such's birthday is coming up, or someone's work anniversary is coming up. What are we going to do to celebrate? And they've actually, had to push those ideas, much further over the last year, working remotely, right?
Yep.
So what can we do that's fun to celebrate somebody's birthday or just, make them know that, we're thinking about them. Um, you know, we used to do about every 4 to 6 weeks some sort of, culture event. So, whether that be like going axe throwing or we did laser tag, which was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Laser tag was really fun. Or, bowling or stuff like that. Obviously, in the last year, we haven't really been able to do that stuff. So, they came up with really cool ideas. Again, I don't think that, we as leadership necessarily would have, come up with these ideas, but we did at Halloween, we did a pumpkin carving. So,
Oh, cool.
and so it's an outdoor activity. We've got a big parking lot outside of our office. And so we set up tables. Anna, who's one of our art directors, she also moonlights as a DJ. So she,
Oh,
played
sweet.
played music. And so we did this big pumpkin carving event that was really fun. We had a hamburger, this guy in Dallas called the Hamburger Man come cater another event where we had this, nice lunch outside. So we're trying to do things that, keep that culture alive and allow us to, still see each other in person and not just, see the people for, words on a keyboard
Yeah.
during this whole pandemic. And then really in kind of late November, as cases really started to tick up, we kind of said, we're going to stay away from those outdoor events. But I think now, as we're seeing case numbers drop, severely, which is
Yeah.
awesome. I think we're much more apt to keep doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, so they meet every week, and then once a month they meet with the leadership team and present ideas or comments or questions or um, any sort of concerns they might have about what might be going on with company culture. They'll send out surveys every so often. We try to do them every quarter, just kind of on like a culture survey. How do you feel about the company? What's going on? What can we do to improve? And a lot of that is heavily based on like what can leadership do to improve? How can we improve your work-life balance? So they really help out with all aspects of having a great company culture, and they our culture would 100% not be what it is today without the culture committee. I can confidently say that.
So, can you give us an example of something that the culture committee brought to you guys, either over the past year during the pandemic, or even before that, that you just were completely blindsided by, and that you're very thankful that they brought to your attention so you could fix it?
Yeah, yeah. It almost feels like the pre-pandemic world, just like it's hard to even remember what that was like. But um,
Back
you
in the
know,
day when you didn't have to wear a mask.
we were, obviously things went to lockdown in March of 2020, and then we took a big hit in March and April, and then really the rest of 2020 was actually pretty good for us from a revenue standpoint. And so, we're sitting there in, I don't know, October or so, and maybe September, and we're like, okay, revenues are good. It's not where we wanted to be for 2020, but like we're making some money, and we haven't had to lay anybody off. We've actually hired a couple people, and people are productive, and we're doing these 8:45 in the morning hangouts where everybody gets together, and we talk about stuff, and we kind of felt like we were doing a good job. It's just everybody's working virtually and remote, and we felt really confident in what we were doing. And in talking with one of our culture committee members and just asking her kind of what her feeling on, the vibe of the agency was. And she said, I think our culture's really down. I don't really know how to quantitate it, but
Yeah.
she said, I think our culture's really suffered. And I was like, really? And, I think as a partner in a business during a pandemic, you're really focused on one thing, right? It's, keeping money
Revenue.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping money coming in and
Keeping money
limiting
coming
those
in.
expenses. Yeah.
Yeah. And, doing our best to make sure nobody got laid off. Right. Um, so she said, yeah, culture is really down. And I think it's really become a big thing. She said, I think that, especially some of the new team members we've brought on who have worked only remotely. It's like, I know that they don't feel like they're part of the team
Hmm.
necessarily, or have had a really hard time integrating, or people that she used to just talk to, for 5 or 10 minutes, at the microwave heating something up for lunch or whatever. She didn't have the opportunity to talk to them about anything but just work. And so, like, to me, that really struck a chord because I think that, while when we're in the office, we want people to be as productive as possible. I think those little 5, 10 minute conversations about, hey, what movie I saw this weekend, or, what band I went to see, or whatever, I think that's really important and,
Yeah.
having a productive environment. And so it was those kinds of conversations that we'd really lost. And so that was a huge eye opener. And I think because this person was on the culture committee, I think she felt especially comfortable coming to me and saying that, and not feeling fearful that like she was talking shit about the company or something,
Right. Right. Right.
And so that was when we said, all right, well, we need to take a renewed focus, and how do we do things where people are able to interact during the pandemic. And we'd done some virtual happy hours and stuff like that, but like, those were fun like in March and April. And then and then it was like, oh wait, you want me to be on another fucking video chat? Like, get the
Yeah.
hell out of here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so yeah, I think that was a really, really big thing that was brought to us by the culture committee, and that
So
we
what was the fix? that you guys came up with?
So the fix was doing these outdoor events.
Okay, cool.
Again, yeah, we did I think 3 or 4 of them, and then cases went up, but we did 3 or 4 of them, and it was the first one we did was we had the Hamburger Man, and we did this lunch, and we also decided that we really needed to do, and this goes for all culture things, it has to be done during the workday, because if you're requiring people to do culture events outside of work hours, like then that's taking away from their personal time.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we did this lunch and we blocked off 2 hours, and this guy comes, he sets up a hamburger grill and makes these amazing hamburgers. And it was like the next day in our morning hangout, it was like a new company.
Yep.
It was like everybody had been able to see each other. We did it safely. We are outdoors. We were wearing masks, except for eating and stuff like that. Um, and it was just like everybody was so relieved to have seen each other, been able to like just bullshit about, whatever, talk
Hmm.
about things that were
Hmm.
outside of, the daily grind of work. The pandemic's been so hard on everybody. It was like it was kind of this like respite from like just the daily grind of like what's on my to-do list. I need to get this done. What deliverable do we have to a client? What's our timeline? What's our budget? All this
Yeah.
stuff that we deal with. And so it was really amazing to see. And so yeah, we had 3 or 4 of these outdoor events, and I hope to start them back up again soon. And then I'm eyeing June 1st for us to be back in the office. Whether that's going to be possible, I don't know. But I think that's I said that last year too, June 1st, but I think this year it is a
Yeah, I think
realistic.
this year it's much more realistic.
Yeah.
Last year we didn't know what was going on. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. I remember telling our staff that by like May we should be back, and then once May was coming along, we're like, probably like end of July, and then they're like, and then we just was like, it's gonna be a while, guys. Like, I'm not gonna tell you dates anymore because we've got a long way to go. Now, speaking of quantifying things, were you able to see a measurable difference from doing these types of cultural events for your staff?
We don't have a great way to quantify that.
Hmm.
It's just something, it's like it's just something, and
Yeah.
doing culture and having a focus on your company culture is not going to pay dividends like in 6 months. It's not something, I mean,
It's a
you'll see,
long-term investment for sure.
right.
Yeah.
It's a long term investment. I mean, you'll see happier people, all that kind of stuff, but it takes time, which is money. It costs money, which is money. So, like, in terms of like on a spreadsheet seeing an ROI, it's something that, I think you really don't see the real fruits of until, maybe a year or two down the road, because what ends up happening is, we like to say that happy cows make the best milk,
Yeah.
right? So what ends up happening is that you have happier employees who are doing better work for their clients, who are more passionate about the work, which makes our clients happier, which
Hmm.
grows their business, which helps grow our agency, which allows us to hire new people, which brings more people in the fold. And the biggest thing too is lack of turnover. We have a really small turnover rate, and hiring and firing people is very expensive, as you well know. You alluded to
Yeah. Oh,
earlier.
absolutely. Yeah.
So so yeah, I mean, just things like that. That again, I think they're hard to quantify on paper, but if you look at companies who really focus on culture, they're some of the most successful companies in the world. And there are companies who don't focus on culture who are also successful. But if you look at a company like Whole Foods, and John Mackey and what he's done there, and with
Hmm.
conscious capitalism and really trying to treat his people well, and look at how he grew from one grocery store in Austin to what Whole Foods is now. Um, so I mean, there's just so many examples of companies that really try to take care of their people, and you see just explosive growth and excellent dividends down the road.
Yeah, and I think also the other thing is that it's just more fun. Like, if you are
Yeah.
a fun type of person, you typically want to be around people who are fun and like are enjoying life. If you're just focused on the bottom line and you don't put as much effort into developing the company culture, it can get very dry, it's kind of like, just being surrounded by robots, which, not always the most fun environment, at least for
No,
me.
no, my 3-year-old would like to be surrounded by robots, but not me. And I always like to tell people that if you can be happy 90% of your days at work, then like you're doing pretty damn good. And
Oh man,
so
I heard a statistics that 80% of Americans hate their jobs. So
God,
yeah, I mean, if you're one
that's
of those
terrible.
lucky people, well, and this is one of the honors that we have as owners is that we can intentionally create an environment that for the right people who believe in our vision, it's going to be the best job that they'll ever have, or at
Yeah,
least the best job that they'll have for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, right? Until they move on to their next challenge, whatever and whenever that is.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think that I love that you measure turnover or that you can kind of uh, have one of the metrics being turnover. That's really, really important. The other thing is, not losing clients, because most agencies lose 10% of their business every single month. And if you're below that, maybe you might not be able to directly relate it back to the company culture, but I think it definitely has an impact.
yeah, I mean, we've lost very, very few clients, and we've actually fired a couple of clients in our, 5 years or so in business. But we've lost very few clients, very fortunately. But I think it's, you know, people are generally happy working here, and we try to treat our clients like people, not paychecks, is one of our core values. And we extend to them the same courtesy that we extend to people who work here. So um, yeah, having low client turnovers is a huge part of, I think, why we've been able to grow. Most of our new business. I always say the easiest new business comes from current clients. So
Yep.
if you're treating them right and treating them well, and kind of espousing the same values that you do internally, externally, and I think you'll see great results.
We should track, we should measure this over the next year or so. Is seeing, well, probably we're not the best example, but companies that have high turnover in terms of employees and then also high turnover in terms of clients. I'll bet you that those two things are directly proportional.
I bet you're right. I bet
Yeah.
you're 100%
All
right.
right. We'll start this study. All right. We're almost out of time, Case. Thank you so much for being here. What is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah. So my email is case, KACE at therba.com. Email is always a good way. You can go on our website, therba.com. You can contact us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Uh, our handles are some form of RBA DTX. I can't, there's a period in some of them, and I don't know. But, but yeah, if you ever want to get in touch with me, my email is always the best place to reach me. Chris knows I'm usually pretty fast at responding.
Yep.
And yeah, we're a full service branding and advertising agency, and we focus on challenger brands. So we say that brands who have ambitions that outpace their budgets and the passion to tackle their competitors is really kind of what we look at. And we feel like we're especially well suited to work with challenger brands because we really see ourselves as a challenger agency. So we're not one of the big Omnicom or WPP agencies, but we feel like our ideas are just as good, if not better, and our client service certainly is better. And yeah, we don't have the multi-million dollar budgets that they do, but I think it's finding creative ways to accomplish your goals is what makes us strong.
Awesome. Yeah. And, if you're an agency owner and you have a referral for Case, obviously, please, throw him his way. He'll take really, really good care of them. I've seen the work. Obviously, they do really good work.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. And the other thing is like, if you have questions about maybe company culture, Case, I don't know if they can email you about that, if that's cool.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to talk to other agency owners, not just to, espouse whatever wisdom I may or may not have, but I'm always looking to learn from other people. I think, Chris, that's why you and I have grown closer the last year or so, because I there's a lot of cool things that you guys do that I want to learn from, and processes that you have that we've adopted. And so I'm always looking to learn from people. I know there's great, agency networking groups. But if people ever want to connect one-on-one, I'm more than happy to do that, and always happy to make time for it.
Thank
So
you very much. And you and I are also putting together a lesson on company culture that we'll be putting on our membership site called Dude School. So as soon as that gets out, we'll send out an email. But if you guys have not checked out Dude School, just go to dudeschool.io. You can sign up for free. You can get lessons on everything from how to be a better leader to how to manage your finances to things like company culture. So be on the lookout for that lesson that Case and I will be putting together. So, for everybody who's listening today, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and make sure that you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Thanks, guys.